All right, and good day, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracles. And hi, my name is Oliver, and I am going to be your host for today. I'm going to be your temporary guide, your temporary coach, your temporary guru. I'm going to be whatever, like Paul says, I'll be all things to all men and women. So, whatever you need me to be today, I'll be that for you temporarily. But in that temporary state that I'm in, as a coach, as a guru, as a host, I'm going to, my goal is to point you within, to point you to the real you that loves you. And that is to point you to that which God created way before there was any form, there was any time, before there was anything other than God is. And it was at that point in the beginning that God extended his very own self. Why would God extend his very own self? Because the nature of God is love. And that's what love does. Love extends itself. Love is infinite. Love is boundless. Love is full expression. And so it knows no other idea other than extension, or we call it giving. God gives. So God so loved the world that he gave. Why? Because it's the nature of God to give of itself, of all of itself. It is the nature of God to give unrestricted. Because what? Love is free. Love is whole. Love is complete. Love is not looking for affirmation. Love is not looking for confirmation. Love knows itself. Love is self-aware. Love is absolutely certain of its nature and threatened by nothing. And so today is the day that we talk about love a little bit. We never get tired of talking about love. Why? Because love is all there is. Love is who you are. The real you loves you. Why? Because the real you is love. And tell everyone you heard it here at Truly Foundation, where we teach advanced spirituality for the sole purpose of humanity waking up to its reality, for the sole purpose of humanity waking up to the reality of its oneness with the God of love. For humanity to wake up to its true identity, which we call the real you here at Truly Foundation. It is the real you. And where there is reality, there's no unreality. There's only vain imaginings. There's only hallucination. There's only fantasy. Reality is all there is. Reality is all that there is. And when we embrace the real you that loves you, when you embrace what God created as your very own self, oh my God, everything changes. Everything changes. As we said on yesterday, we begin to see love in everything. We begin to see God in everything, because God is everything. God is, and there is nothing else. God is, and there is nothing else other than what God extends. And what God extends, he called the I am. And that is who we are. That is what we are. That is why we are. To be this one expression of the one thing. And in form, we can be that. In this form, we can do that. with ease. Jesus said what? My yoke is easy and my message is light, L-I-G-H-T. And so it's easy being yourself. You are more at ease and not diseased. You're more at ease being yourself. It is effortlessly. You can effortlessly be yourself. It takes a lot of effort to be an imposter. It takes a lot of effort to make up a false self. It takes a lot of effort to try to change the purposes of God. It takes a tremendous amount of effort. But when we are at ease, that means that we abide in the reality of our oneness with our Creator. We abide in peace and harmony with our neighbor, regardless of what arises in the day. Because in this world of perception, things are going to arise. We are absolutely certain that all things are working together for our good. And so we can what? Be at ease. Regardless of what's happening in this part of the country, this part of the world, with this group of people, that group of people, this institution, that institution, this organization, that organization, this family, this community, regardless, we can be at ease. That ultimately, it is the will of God that shall prevail. It is love that shall prevail. Everything in this perceptual world is running its course. And we get to be the observer. We get to be the observer and choose what experiences that we want to participate in. And we get to choose how we get to experience every experience that we choose to participate in. So that means what? That we are living life. Life is not living us. We're living with purpose and intention. We're not living by default. It's not que sera, sera. No, it is what is the will of God. That's my only aim, my only concern. What is the will of God? What is the will of God in this, in that, in anything? Wow. Let's get started. Today's lesson is lesson 264. And again, we're coming from the workbook lesson for student. I use the blue book. Let me get it around here. Let me get it that way. I use the blue book out of the Course in Miracles. This is a workbook. This is a course. We're taking a course. We are taking a course in transformation and a course in how to be transformed by renewing our minds. Why? Because everything starts where? In the mind. And then it ends in the results that we get. And then we take a look at the results and we say, do we like the results? We say, yes, we like the results. Well, you keep doing what you're doing. If you don't like the results, guess what? You got to go back to the beginning and rethink this thing. You got to go back and rethink it, because that's what started the process of manifestation. Remember, everything starts with that thought, which triggers what we call feelings. And every feeling that you have is connected to every cell in your body. Every feeling we have is connected to every cell in our body. And it is those feelings that triggers what we call action. We take a certain action, because your body is basically a neutral element. It takes its instruction from the mind, from more specifically from the subconscious part of our mind, where the feeling tones are, the part of our mind where we are emotionally charged and emotionally involved, because we are generating that energy. Emotions generate energy, feelings, and we experience them as feelings. And then feelings trigger what we call as action. And it is from the action that we take, because we have activated this manifestation machine, which is called the body. It is the action that we take that triggers the results that we experience, or the results that we have. And those results we call our life. But in reality, there's not the ultimate life. The results that we experience here in this world of matter, I call it the world of perception, it is a direct reflection of our thinking. But it's not our real life. It's not the real you results. Because the real you that loves you, the you that God created, it can't be altered. It can't be changed. Our results are already fixed. And our results is that what? That we remain in the heart of God. We're just having an experience in this perceptual world. And we have mistaken that experience for our identity. We're even mistaken the results and the experiences that we have as our identity, but it's not. And so that is the creation process I just shared with you. Everything begins with a thought that triggers a emotion or a feeling, which sends signals to the body to take action, and the body takes actions, and it creates a result. And those results, good or bad, it's what we're living with. And those results is what we experience. And if we want different results, we have to start the process back over with right thinking. And that's what this whole course is about. Transforming our thinking to the thoughts of God. Transforming our thinking to thoughts of love, thoughts of light. Aligning our thinking with our true nature. Aligning our thinking with the essence of who we are, which is love. And so today in Workbook Lesson 264 is another idea that will help us to have those results, to have that experience of life, which is love, which is peace, which is joy, which is happiness, fulfillment. Meaning that we not only have access to, but we utilize all the goodness that we are and experience it in so many unique ways. But ultimately, we're not here to experience, but we're here to wake up. We're here to become aware and awakened and alive and enlightened to the reality of who we are and who our Father is, the one God that breathes all of us, and who our brotherhood is, which is all humanity. No exclusion. No one is excluded. We might not like everything that people do, but the reality is they are not excluded from the oneness that we share. Not excluded. If we exclude one, then we're not even a part of it. Because there's only the one. And so, in that oneness, the nature of that oneness is love. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So let's look at the idea for today. in Workbook Lesson 264, again in the blue book, if you're following me. And we are on page 427. There you go. 427. Yes, 427. You know, and of course, the miracle is just a tool. It's not a religion. This is not a religion. This is a tool that we've been given, that's been downloaded from the author himself to help us to come out of a place of darkness, a place of separation, come out of a place of suffering and pain. And there's many such courses. There's many such resources that have been downloaded to humanity to get us on track, to get us realigned where we've been misaligned, to put us in a place of harmony where we've been in a place of disharmony and dysfunction. To add value, to add light. To all of our misunderstanding. That's what Jesus said. In all you're getting, get understanding, because what you don't understand can hurt you. I mentioned the other day, I say the biggest cost that we all experience in life is not knowing. But here at Truly Foundation, where we teach these advanced spiritual principles, they are being taught for the purpose of us coming into the knowledge. Why? Even the Bible says that grace and peace is only multiplied to us through the knowledge, through the knowing. And I'm not talking about just head knowledge, but I'm talking about an intimate knowing of the law that governs life, which is love. There's only one law. It's the law of love. No other law exists outside of love. Love is the law, is the basis for life itself. That's why Paul said, let me show you a more excellent way. Paul said, let me show you the way, a more excellent way. And that excellent way Paul was talking about is love. If you read in 1 Corinthians chapter, the love chapter, 11, 10, I don't know. I have to go look for it. But he said, let me show you a more excellent way. Because we were trying another way. There is no other way. He said, this is the excellent way. The excellent way is love. God so what? God so loved that he what? He extended himself. God gave. God gave all that he is, or all that it is. That's the more excellent way. That's why Paul said it's more blessed to give than to what? To receive. Why? Because you're operating in love. You're operating in the law that governs life. You operate in the law of the spirit of life, which sets you free from the law of sin, consciousness, guilt, and fear. He calls it sin and death. Or the law of illusion. That's what delivers us from the sleeping state of illusion and believing that we're something that we're not. Love does that. The law of love. Wow. And we activate that law of love here in this perceptual world through practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness puts us back on the what? Back on the road of love. Forgiveness puts us back in harmony with ourselves, back in harmony with God and with each other. And that harmony, we call it love. The experience of God is love, because God is love. There's a chapter of scripture over here in 1 John. Let me read a few of those verses first before we get into the lesson. Over in 1 John chapter 5, for you Bible scholars. That includes me. I like the Bible, especially now that I don't look at it through the eyes of the ego anymore. I look at it through the eyes of oneness, and it's a totally different. It becomes a totally different, usable, and then it becomes usable. When you read the Bible through the eyes of separation, it is full of judgment, sin consciousness, and guilt. It's not very helpful. But when you look at it through the eyes of oneness, through the eyes of love, then it becomes a what? A very usable tool. A very usable tool. And so in 1 John, First John, First John 4. Let's go to 1 John 4. It says, believe, 1 John 4, verse 1 John 4, chapter 4, verse 1. And I'm gonna go through this like you probably say, oh, I haven't heard it like that before. And I didn't either until I acquired the eyes of oneness. And then when I read it again, I said, okay, I understand what the writer was saying. 1 John 1, it says, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit, whether it be of love or whether it be of God. Because many false teachers, false prophets are gone into the world. And they're prophesying and teaching from a place of separation. And so when you teach or preach or prophesy from a place of separation, you end up in a place of falsehood. It says, hereby know ye the Spirit of God, or the Spirit of love. He says, this is how you know it. He says, every one or every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ, not talking about the name Jesus Christ, but it's talking about what Jesus Christ represented. Jesus Christ represented oneness. Jesus Christ represented the fact that God and humanity is one. There's just one and the same. That heaven and earth have become one. That in reality, it has always been one. There's only been the one. That there's only oneness. There's no two-ness or three-ness. Jesus Christ represents the fact that all things are in God. There's nothing outside of God. So it doesn't promote, any degree of separation or division. It doesn't promote any idea that has to do with separation. That all things are in God. There's nothing outside of God. So there's no comparison. There is no specialness. There is no special group, a special people, a special path. No. That's what the phrase Jesus Christ represents. It represents how God demonstrated to us that there's only one thing, that death is not real, that we remain as God created us. It was never intended for us to create a religion around or to see ourselves inferior to Jesus or to Christ or anyone or any God. But we come to understand that there's only equality, because there's only equality in love. It was never intended to make a religion out of it. But it hasn't changed the truth. None of that, not all of the foolishness that we've seen over the years, none of it has changed the truth. The truth remains the same. Reality remains the same. So he said, hereby know you the Spirit of God, or the Spirit of love. He said, every spirit that confesses or teaches or shares that oneness is come in the flesh is of God. It's not talking about Jesus having a flesh and an earthly life. That's not what he's talking about. He said, everyone that confesses that in this present moment, that only that which appears to be in flesh, which would be you and me, is oneness in form. That anyone that confesses that what oneness is come, that it is present right now. We're not talking about a historical occurrence. We're talking about we acknowledging one another that in this present moment that we represent the oneness of God right now. Is come, is mean present. Doesn't mean in the past, is come in the flesh. So whatever that is trying to share that who we are is not the same as God is right now in the flesh, that's false prophecy. That's false teaching. You're still teaching separation. You're still teaching division. You're still teaching that God sits high and we sit low. It's not. It says here. He says it is a false. It's a false idea. And that's what this whole world has been built on. This false idea of separation, that we're separate from each other, that we're separate from God. And not acknowledging the oneness that we share, the one being, the one self that we all share. So whoever shows up and however they show up, when you look through the eyes of oneness, you realize that as God is, so are we in this world. When is that? Right now. Well, how is he? Or how is she? Or how is it? Well, however how that is, so are we in this world. And anyone that doesn't confess this, he said, is in error. And everyone that confesses not that what is present is the oneness of God. Anyone that confesses not that Jesus Christ is come presently in the flesh is not of God, or it's not of love. So when you see yourself other or separate and apart from someone else, including Jesus, including God, he said that it is this idea is not of God. It's not of love. It's not a oneness. It's false. What it said is a false idea. And many have gone out into the world sharing this false idea. We struggle with embracing the reality of who we are. It's a big struggle. We can't believe who we are. We can't believe the love of God. We can't believe what God has done. And what he has done and included all of us in. It's unbelievable in the natural. You can't believe it with the intellectual mind. That's not what the intellectual mind is for. It is not us, and it's not what we're talking about goes beyond believing. This is a knowing. It's a knowing who you are, that you and God are one. That when you indeed see yourself, you have seen the Father. When I see you, I've seen the Father. Just like we said on yesterday, we see God in everything. God is not broken into billions of pieces. God doesn't occupy one space and we occupy another. There is no space when you wake up to the reality. There's only the presence of God, and it's everywhere and it's in everything, including you. And so you are that which has come, is come. When you are that which is come, you are that which God says, as I am right now, so are you in this world. That's who you are. He's saying this is the spirit what? Of Antichrist, anti-oneness, anti-inclusive. Any way that you promote specialness, if you're promoting specialness in any way, that one thing is special over another, or one thing is have more value than the other, then you're promoting what it says here. That's you're promoting an anti-oneness or anti-Christ idea. He says, and this is the spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that I should come, and even now already that it should come, and it's already in the world. It's been in the world for a long time. And it started with Adam and Eve. They were anti-oneness. They thought that God was holding something back on them. And they entertained a tiny mad idea that separation was better than oneness. And that's what the spirit of Antichrist that has been passed down to all generations. But even in that dream of separation, nothing has changed in reality. We remain as God created us, whole and complete and innocent and infinite and impersonal and self-aware. And that's what we find out when the veil is removed. That's what we find out when we recognize who we are. He said, you are of God. Now he's getting ready to correct the record. You are of God, little children. And you have overcome this idea of separation. He calls it Antichrist. You have overcome this idea, this tiny mad idea of separation. He says, because greater is what is in you in truth than is what the idea of separation that's in the world. He said, what is of the world is the idea of separation. He said, it speaks of what is of the world, separation, the ego world. And the world heareth them. It says, but ye are of God. In reality, your reality is God. And he's not excluding anyone. He said, and he that knoweth God heareth us. Hereby know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. It didn't say the spirit of sin. It didn't say the spirit of judgment or separation. He said, no, this is how you will know the spirit of truth versus the spirit of error. The truth is, there's only the one. God is, and there is nothing else. And God, in its very nature of love, extended what he is completely. And what he extended, he called it this I am. He calls it the Christ. He calls it himself. We are a part of that extension. We have equality with that extension. We are what the extension is. And that has never been altered or changed. That can never be threatened. But in this world of perception that we made up by entertaining an idea of separation and promoting separation, promoting sin consciousness, guilt, and fear, we have made a world as an attack on the idea of oneness. But as you see how the movie is ending, all that is temporal, all that is of the ephemeral, all that was made from an idea of separation, it's coming to an end. It's dissolving, it's decaying, it's falling apart. Why? Because it's only temporary, it's not real. So it would be only fitting for us to not put our trust, our faith in an idea that has no reality. He says, this is how you know the spirit of error versus spirit of truth. The spirit of error promotes separation. The spirit of error promotes inequality. The spirit of truth is oneness, that we all one, that we all share this oneness with God. There is no separation. As long as you hold on to the idea that there is separation, there will be dis-ease in your thinking. There will be dis-ease in your feeling. There will be dis-ease in your action. There will be dis-ease in your results. And that would only be your experience. It doesn't redefine you. It's just the experience that you've chose to have. But if you want to change the experience, there's such a process that's called transformation, which is it's our business here. There's such a way of renewing the mind. There's such a way of practicing the course in Jesus's form of forgiveness. There's a way of recognizing who we are that will change all of that. We repurpose the purpose of this world. We repurpose the purpose for everything, even our bodies, when we wake up to this truth. And he goes on to say, beloved, let us love one another. See? He's not excluding anyone. Let us love one another. Jesus said the one law, love God and what? Love your neighbor. Who's your neighbor? All humanity. There's no exception. So all these differences that we've made, all these ideas of separation and division and differences and comparisons that we made, that's what has created the confusion and the chaos in the world that we see. We did it. He says, so let us love one another. For love is of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God for themselves. It says here that in reality, you can't change reality, but it can be unrecognized. You can live a life, or you can live many lifetimes and unrecognize the love that you are, the love that you share, the self that you are, the self that you share, the life that you are, and the life that you share with all of living things and with God. You can unrecognize it and live a world and live a life in a belief in separation where there is no joy, there is no peace, there is no happiness, there's no fulfillment, because it's not in the things made in this world, but it's in your knowing of the truth. Verse 8. We're still in chapter 4, 1 John, verse 8. He that loveth not knoweth not love, for God is love. Knoweth not God, for God is love. He that loveth not. He that fail to recognize the oneness that we share, the equality that we share. Fail to teach only love, because love is what we are. He said, you know it not, or you are experiencing it not yet. Verse 9, he says, in this was manifested the love of God towards us. In what? Because that God sent his only begotten, or the one Son, which we all are. It's not separate from us. He sent the one Son that we all share into the world, that we might live through this one Son, or that we might live through the reality of this oneness. Jesus was symbolic of the oneness that we share. He wasn't symbolic of a separate, special person like we have made him out to be, but he was symbolic of the oneness that we all share, the equality that we share. But we took him and put him up on a pedestal and made a religion out of him and say, we're different than you, so let's worship you. You are great and we're nothing. See, that inferiority complex, that's where it came from. That is where it came from. Because we're still refusing to accept the reality that we are one with God, that we are one with each other. And so we always go to try to make something else because it's almost like we can't believe it. I'm saying believe it. It is true. Jesus even says, haven't you read that ye are gods? And they still buried their heads in the sand. And here in 2022, the majority of humanity have not embraced the reality of their true self. Because if it did, the world would be different. Verse 10, herein is love. Not that we love God, but that God what loved us. Why? Because God is. And sent his one demonstration to remove us from this sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. And belief in separation. And in beginnings and endings, belief in death. Send him so we can what? Get vaccinated and heal from this belief in separation. What is the vaccination? The truth that is true always about our true identity. It says, beloved, if God so loved us, we ought to what? Love one another. Why? Because love is all there is. It says no one has seen God. Why? Because God is not, in the sense that, God is not some guy with a beard. But God is you. No one has seen God as some separate thing. He says, beloved, okay. He says, beloved, if God so loved us, we ought to love one another. No man has seen God as something separate at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth what? In or as us. Not as something separate, but as something that is one, that we're all joined as one. Like the chorus says, we're oneness joined as one. If we love one another, God dwelleth as us, and his love is perfected as us. God's love can only be perfected in you and me, as us, or as himself. Because like he said, he'll go on to say, as we are, as he is, so are we. Hereby know we that we dwell in him or as him, and he in us or as us, because he hath given us of his spirit of oneness and the spirit of love. And we have seen and do testify that the Father sent this oneness message through the Son, through the person of Christ, to be what? The Savior of the world, to be the awakener of the world. And so whosoever shall confess that Jesus is the Son of God, God dwelleth in him and he in God. And what did Jesus represent? Well, Jesus represented all of us. So he that confesses that Jesus was representing all of us as one, and that there is no separation between me and Jesus, or me and any other human being. He says, this is that he sent the Son to be the Savior of the world. Whosoever confesses this, he said, God dwelleth as him and in God. And we have known and believed the love that God has towards us. It said, God is love. And he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. Hereby is our love made perfected, or made perfect, or complete, or whole. This is how we know. This is how our love is made complete and whole. This is how we confirm the love that we are. He said, this is how it's done. He says, herein is our love made perfect or mature. He said, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. But when is the day of judgment? Right now. Do you have boldness? Do you confess that you are that part and parcel of the creation of God that has come into flesh? Do you confess that in this present moment that you are one with God and one with all humanity? And so you are the representative in the flesh of the one God, of the one self, of the one being, of the one love. Do you embrace that reality that is who you are? Do you have this boldness, this confidence, this certainty right now? He said, why? You should have it. This is why you should have it. He said, because as he is, so are we in this world. As he is, so are we in this world. As God is, so are we. That's why we can have boldness in the day of judgment. When the world is judging itself in separation, in unrighteousness, in sin, guilt, and fear, God said, as he is, so are we in this world, in the midst of the judgment, the wrong judgment. God is not judging the world. God would be judging himself. No, we're judging ourselves out of what? A falsehood, out of a spirit of Antichrist. We're still holding on to the belief in separation and not embracing that of oneness. But when you wake up in this world, you realize that as God is, so am I right now. He said, there is no fear in love, because love has what? But love casted out all fear. Why? Because fear has torment. Fear has torment. And so I just use the scripture to share the same message that the Course is sharing here. But the Course, look, the Course don't play around with bones. The Course is all straightforward, tender meat that can be consumed. Tender meat. And so he says, I am surrounded by the love of God. That's what we just talked about. It's not that we're surrounded by the love of God, but that we are the God that surrounds everything. Yes, we are. I am surrounded by the love of God. Why? Because God is love. And love is all there is. So the lesson starts out with an affirmation. Let's just read the affirmation. Father, you stand before me, behind me, beside me, in the place I see myself. That's the view of God from a place of separation, from a place of duality. But from a place of oneness, we stand with and as God. We stand as God in every moment. We are the representative of the kingdom of God. And God didn't send something separate from himself to speak for himself. No, God came himself. And he's still here. And it's you and me. That's why he said, as much as you've done it to one of these, you've done it to me. Why? Because we're one, man. Come on. How many ways is he going to have to say it for us to embrace it? Don't be afraid. Let perfect love cast out all fear. Don't be afraid of your reality. Don't be afraid of who you are. Don't be afraid of what God created. Don't be ashamed of your reality. He says, so everywhere I find myself, I am there. I'm surrounded. I am it. So love or God is in everything I look upon, the sounds I hear, in every hand that reaches for my own. In God or in love, time completely disappears. That's why I tell you that time and space is an illusion too. When you wake up to your infinite self, there's only infinity. There's only eternity. There's no more need for time and space. Because you realize it was all a dream. Time and space only happens in dreams. Only happens in the idea of separation. In you, time disappears and place become a meaningless belief. This place, that place. When you wake up, there's only the one place, and that is the presence of God. It's everywhere. And we stand in the present at every moment. That's where the fullness of joy is. That is where what he says, pleasures evermore. For what surrounds what you created and keeps him safe is love itself. For what surrounds your reality is love itself. There is no source but this, and nothing is that does not share love's holiness, that stands beyond your one creation. What is your one creation? It's you and me, the I am. Or without the love which holds all things within itself. All things are in love, or all things are in God. God is the sustainer of all things. Father, your creation is likened to yourself. As he is, so are we. Your creation is likened to yourself. Just like yourself. In fact, it is your very self. We come to you in your own nature, your own name. We come to you in the name of I am. I am conscious. I am aware. I am present. I am love. I am happiness. I am joy. I am peace. I am fulfillment. I am all in all. As I am, so are you. As you are, so am I, because we are one. When you see me, you have seen the Father. When you have seen the Father, you have seen me. When there is an awakening and an awareness of our oneness, there you find yourself. There you find God. One and the same. So the one that's looking into the mirror, or the one that's looking into the picture, it's the same one in the picture. And it's the same one in the mirror. Think about that. Think about that. Your one creation. Or without the love which holds all things within itself. Father, your Son is like yourself. We come to you in your own name today, your own nature. To be. We come to be at peace within your everlasting love. So let's take this idea of being surrounded by love and understand that we are love. It tells you here in Scripture that anyone that's born of God is born of love. Anyone that denies that, anyone denies that as God is, so are we. He said it's the spirit of separation, the spirit of division, or the spirit of Antichrist. Christ means one, that we're all one, that God has reconciled everything into the one thing, and we're that one thing, including God. That is how you know that which is real, that which is true. And anyone, anywhere that is promoting anything other than oneness, you will know that that is not of God. It doesn't mean that God is going to after them, or God is after going to hurt them. No, they're going to eventually, until they wake up. We hurt ourselves with that thinking. We hurt ourselves with that thinking. And people will tell you, oh, that's the judgment of God. No, it's not. God doesn't judge anything. God's not under threat. God's not under attack. No, that's us judging and attacking ourselves through wrong thinking. And so, to conclude today's lesson, my brothers, join with me in this today. Join with me today. My brothers, my sisters, who are joined with me today. But we're going to take our joining, our oneness, to promote this idea. So join with me today. Join with me in this today. What? In this idea, in this reality of our oneness. This is what Paul said. I'll show you a more excellent way. This is salvation's prayer. What is salvation's prayer? The love of God. Or that God is love, and so are we. That's salvation's prayer. That's God's promise that what he created will remain as he created it. That's the promise of God. Salvation is that which God has promised and guaranteed, that eventually the sonship wakes up completely. So he said, join with me in this today. Must we not join in what will save the world? Or will we continue to be joined with that which promotes and keeps humanity from awakening to the truth of who he is? Shall we continue in this spirit of anti-oneness? That's what he said. This anti-love. Must we not join in what will save the world along with us? Must we not? So this lesson ends with a question. Should we continue in this foolishness that the dream may continue? It's kind of another way of putting it. Should we continue playing the game of this false self, playing the game of these children, playing with these children toys or children idea of separation? Should we continue to play in this game of suffering? Should we continue to see ourselves as separate and not as one? Should we continue that the idea of sin can replace the reality of love? We can ask this question 1,000 ways, but we only need one way. Must we not join in what will save the world? The false idea? What would dispel the false idea of our false identity? Along with us. So indeed, I am not only surrounded, but I am the love of God. I am the love of God. I am that. I am. And so it is true. Truly, truly, I say unto you that the real you what loves you, because the real you is love. And so let us what? Let's bask in our love today and always. We really have no choice. That's what we're doing anyway. But let us wake up from the dream of separation, the dream of hatred, the dream of fear and judgment, and just bask and abide and surrender to the love that we share. It's just that simple. The yoke is easy. There is no burden. There's only the message of light. Thank you so much. This is Workbook Lesson 264. Thank you for joining in. And we'll see you on tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.